Okay, so you have read the article and you've answered these questions. So now what I would like to do is go over your answers. And I think that today was just a good day for some extra practice. I think I'll take, I don't think I'm going to take a grade on this one, but let's practice a little bit with these. And then I will probably take a grade for our last one tomorrow this week. All right, so I do feel like you're getting better. I felt like the showdown Little Rock questions, a lot of you scored a 5 or higher. So this is great. This is great progress. So let's see how you did on this. This will be out of 8 as well. So we'll see what your score is at the end. Okay. Number 1 asked you to go and look in paragraph 1. And it was talking about how one of the many young people that had participated in the march was saying that we were told in some of the mass meetings that the day would come when we could really do something about all of these inequalities that we are experiencing. So if you have to guess what inequalities means, first of all, right away using the context clues, when you're told that a day would come, it lets me make the inference that they've been waiting for this. So this must be a good thing, that you know, the day will come when we could really do something about all of something that isn't right. So for my answer here, I'm looking for something that isn't right. Well, beneficial things would be good, so that can't be it. Dangers, that does mean something that's not great, so I could see maybe a question mark there. Unfair policies, for sure. Equalities is the opposite, so that won't work. All right, so I know that we are in the civil rights movement, and I know that they are upset because things are unfair and they are not given equal rights as citizens. So clearly the best answer, hopefully you picked, was C. Number 2, which statement best reveals that the central idea of the entire article? Okay, so this whole entire article is definitely about the children and what they did for Birmingham, for sure. So I need to look for something like that. A, for many African American children in Birmingham, the civil rights movement was already a part of their lives. Well, that's not really what the whole article was about, so I know that that's not going to work. As the campaign continued that month, this leader had developed some plans. Well, that's how it got started, but the whole article wasn't about that. It turned out that brave actions of these children helped make lasting change in Birmingham at a key turning point when things were not going well. That's a good answer. Thousands of children were trained. That's a detail, okay? That's a really good detail. And that was for sure in the article, but the problem is the whole entire article wasn't about that. So hopefully you pick C for number 2. Number 3, which inference can be supported using textual evidence from paragraph 4? All right, so if I look at A, King and Bevel believed that by using children in their protest, the police would not use violent force against them. Well, you know, if I look at what paragraph 4 is about, I'm looking for something in here that would allow one of those answers to be an inference. This is a really hard question. So I don't see anything in paragraph 4 that would allow me to make an inference that King and Bevel believed that by using children in the protest, the police would not use violence. There isn't anything in here that talks about how, oh, let's use the kids because violence won't be caused against them. Footage and photographs of the violent crackdown in Birmingham circulated throughout the nation. They're talking about pictures being taken. I see that the businesses are shutting down. It talks about an agreement had been reached between the leaders. However, the children were expelled. Okay, so that's the gist of paragraph 4. Nowhere in paragraph 4 does it talk about that if they used kids, there wouldn't be any violence. So I can't make an inference there. B is actually the correct answer, as you can see. King and Bevel knew that if newspaper photographers and television news cameras captured African American children being arrested, people all over America would be outraged. Well, I did read something. about footage and cameras. Look, right there, it's underlined actually. Footage and photographs of the violent crackdown circulated throughout the nation. If pictures are being circulated throughout the nation, don't you think, if everybody's taking pictures of these riots that were happening in Birmingham, don't you think that it's safe to make the inference that these two knew? I mean, I'm not saying that they did, hence it's an inference, that King and Bevel knew that if the newspaper photographers and television news cameras captured African-American children being arrested, people all over America would be outraged. That could be an inference that could be made. All right, that would work because that's discussed. The children were beginning to become worried and frightened by the thought of being arrested. No, the kids were very excited and committed. D, the business in Birmingham were willing to hold out. No, they were not going to hold out. They were going downhill fast because nobody was coming into town to buy anything. So for number 3, we have to pick B. So hopefully that was the answer you found. Number 4, which statement from paragraph 4 best supports the inference you chose for question 3? Okay, well, this one, because I found it in there. We kind of already talked about that one. Footage and photographs of violent crackdown in Birmingham circulated. That allows me to make the inference for sure that that people all over America would be outraged if they saw the pictures that were taken. All right, so those definitely go together. Now, look, I found my answer for number 4. I know it's it. Do I stop? No. You need to go and read the other ones and make sure. Businesses in Birmingham were feeling pressure. That won't work. Despite this harsh treatment, children continued to volunteer. Nope. They sang protest songs and continued their tactics on nonviolent demonstration. That does not also talk about the pictures that were taken. So I kind of thought that 3 was hard, but if you got 3 right, then I think finding the evidence for 4 was probably pretty easy for you. All right, let's take a look. Number 5 here. In paragraph 1, Gilmore writes that many parents and civil rights leaders about involving the young people in the protests. You had to find 3 statements from the article that would validate this claim. So, and I wanted you to highlight them. And then I wanted you to practice quoting in number 5. In several situations, I was able to use the ... trick. So make sure that you're practicing that because you don't have to write as much out. So listen, parents were concerned about their kids being in a march. I get that. There are some dangerous white people during this time period, and they had the right to be kind of worried. If you're looking for 3 pieces of evidence in the article that would validate that claim, you have to understand that what that means is that would prove it true, that it would support it, that the parents were in the right to think that they should be concerned is what you basically were looking for. So I found, despite the harsh treatments, okay, so as a mom, I'm reading and I see, that there was harsh treatments. I'm going to right away say that parents should probably be cautious, concerned about marching. So those match up. That validates each other. So that would work. 200 of children were arrested. So the fact that kids are getting arrested would support that parents should be cautious about letting their kids march. And number 3, the fact that they are spraying the children with powerful water hoses, they're hitting them and they're threatening them with dogs. That would definitely cause parents to be cautious about letting their kids protest. Okay, so those were the 3 that I found. Maybe you found some different ones, but make sure you're indicating, please, where you found your answers, okay? Number 6, in paragraph 2, Gilmore writes that a judge had decided to issue an injunction against the protest. So if you read this in context, if people are protesting and picketing and demonstrating, boycotting, and they're causing stores to shut down, then obviously the judge ordering something wouldn't be probably a promise. I don't think that it would have been a legal order or even a threat. A judge isn't allowed to do that. But he can, however, issue a warning. So this one was the best one to pick. And number 7, what can you infer about the effect of the initial protests that King and other civil rights leaders and members of the Sclc started in Birmingham? Well, I know that their protests were working well and they were building momentum. And I know that that's the best one because, well, one, building momentum means you're starting to get everybody excited. And B, their initial protests began to make things better for African Americans. Yeah, not yet. Things were not better. Schools were being arrested, kids were getting hosed down, dogs were being attacked or let go on to attack children. Things are not better yet. So B just really is not going to work. Business leaders were beginning to listen to leaders. Oh, please. The business leaders were not listening to MLK. He was in jail. Letter D, their initial protests were not as effective as they believed they would be. Well, that's not quite true either. That's kind of the opposite of B, isn't it? They weren't not doing anything. I mean, they were getting there. They weren't completely better, but they weren't horrible either. They were making progress. They were getting there. And that's why A is totally the best choice. So hopefully you picked A for number 7. All right, number 8, last one. Select 2 pieces of textual evidence that would support your choice in question 7. So I need to find text evidence that would support that their protests were working well. Okay? Well, the goal of the plan was to use tactics of nonviolence. Okay, well, that's a goal. So I'm looking for evidence that are going to support the fact that they were starting to build momentum, that things were starting to work. A just talks about a goal that was planned. The judge had issued. Oh, this was the one about how the judge issued a warning because of all of the demonstrating and the boycotting. Well, this proves that things are happening. Look, there's demonstrating, there's boycotting, legal grounds, and so it's starting to work, right? People are going to be arrested, and that was their goal. They wanted to fill the jails up, and they wanted to use the jails as a way to provide a different way for nonviolent protesting. So the goal was to fill up the jails. They thought that this would be a nonviolent way to make a point. So if the judge has to order an injunction because of everything that's been going on, then obviously it's starting to work. The next one, that's a good choice to have. Dr. Martin Luther King and this Ralph guy led thousands of African Americans. Wow. Well, how are they leading these African Americans when they're in jail? Remember, they were arrested, which is why that Bevel guy decided that's why he decided to start a crusade for the kids. Because King and this other guy, they were in jail. So they're not leading thousands of African Americans in Birmingham. Not going to work. As a campaign continued that month, here we go. James Bevel started to enact the plan for the children's. Yep, that's what we want for sure. All right, both of those show that they were starting to build momentum. Things were starting to actually start to happen in Birmingham. And those are our 2 pieces of, that's the best piece of evidence I can find. The other 2, they weren't going to work. Okay, so count up how many you got right out of 8. It was an all or nothing thing. So I should have said that from the beginning, my bad. So right here you had to have 2 answers, right? So let's pretend like you only had 1 right one. That's wrong. Number 8 is wrong. On the state test, you're going to have to get, if it says pick 2 pieces and you only pick 1 of the correct 2, you'll have to mark that one wrong, okay? So it's all or nothing. You either got them all right or you did not. So do me a favor, go up to the top of your paper like I'm showing you here. Go up to the top. Let's get a score out of 8. And then up at the top of that, put how many you got correct out of 8. How many did you get right out of 8? And make sure your name is on it.